Overthinking only leads to exhaustion, not answers. Overthinking drains your energy, steals your peace, and leaves you feeling stuck. It's the constant replaying of scenarios in your mind, the what-ifs that never seem to end, and the fear of making the wrong choice. If you're tired of living in that cycle, constantly questioning yourself, it's time to stop. You don't need to have all the answers right away, and you don't need to have everything figured out to move forward. This book will show you how to let go of overthinking and embrace clarity. The goal isn't to be perfect or to stop thinking entirely, but to think with intention and focus. It's about making decisions with confidence, silencing the inner chatter, and finding peace in the present moment. It's about taking control of your thoughts, rather than letting them control you. The tools and strategies you'll discover here are simple but powerful. They'll help you break free from the mental fog that holds you back and give you the clarity you need to take action. In the following chapters, you'll learn how to overcome the fear of failure, let go of the need to control every outcome, and quiet the inner critic that tells you you're not good enough. It's about accepting that you don't need to have everything figured out right now. It's okay to trust yourself, make mistakes, and learn as you go. This journey isn't about achieving perfection. It's about progress. By the end of this book, you'll have the tools to live more freely, to make decisions with confidence, and to stop letting overthinking stand in your way. If you're ready for a life with less doubt and more clarity, you're in the right place. Chapter 1. Understanding Overthinking. Overthinking is one of those things we all experience but rarely talk about. It's that endless loop of thoughts, where you replay conversations, make every decision feel like life or death, and second-guess yourself over and over. It's like your brain can't turn off, and no matter how hard you try to quiet it, the thoughts keep coming. You think you're solving a problem, but the more you try to figure it out, the more tangled you become. In simple terms, overthinking happens when you spend more time thinking about something than is necessary or helpful. Instead of solving a problem or making a decision, you just keep turning the situation over and over in your mind, looking at it from every angle, trying to predict the outcome. But the more you think about it, the less clarity you actually get. It's like trying to find your way out of a maze while you're blindfolded. You're only getting more lost. It's easy to fall into the trap of overthinking. At first, you might think you're being careful or making sure you're not missing any important details. But soon enough, this careful attention turns into doubt. Should you have said something different in that conversation? Should you have taken the other job? Was that decision you made last week the right one? Your mind starts looking for things to worry about, and before you know it, you're consumed by it. When you're in that cycle, it feels like you're stuck in a mental traffic jam. You can't move forward because you're bogged down by endless thoughts. And the frustrating part is that you can't seem to stop yourself, even if you want to. Overthinking pulls you into the past or the future and away from the present. You might feel like you're preparing yourself for what's coming, but in reality, you're just putting off what needs to be done. What many people don't realize is that overthinking is a pattern, not a permanent state. It doesn't define who you are, but it can definitely shape how you experience life. And the more you overthink, the more you feed into it, reinforcing the cycle. But here's the key. The cycle is not unbreakable. Understanding why it happens and recognizing when it starts can help you stop it before it takes over. When we overthink, we often feel like we're being productive or smart, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Overthinking isn't problem solving. It's just thinking for the sake of thinking. It's like trying to fix something that isn't broken, but the more you tinker with it, the worse it gets. It's also important to know that overthinking doesn't keep you safe. In fact, it does the opposite. It causes more stress, more anxiety, and more indecision. Overthinking often comes from a place of fear or insecurity. It's your mind's way of trying to protect you, to prevent you from making mistakes or looking foolish. But in doing so, it keeps you paralyzed. You might be afraid of making the wrong choice, so you think about it endlessly instead of taking action. The truth is, though, you can't predict every possible outcome. Life doesn't work like that, no matter how much you try to control it. This need for control is a big reason people fall into overthinking. The desire to know what's going to happen next, to avoid any uncertainty or discomfort, leads to overanalysis. But certainty is an illusion. Life is unpredictable, and when we try to control it too much, we get stuck in a loop that never allows us to move forward. The mental strain that comes with overthinking is real. It takes energy. It's exhausting. You might think you're figuring things out, but instead, you're wearing yourself out, mentally and emotionally. You might even feel like you're doing something wrong if you're not overthinking every situation, but in reality, your mind is just reacting to an old habit. The challenge is recognizing that you don't need to overthink in order to make good decisions or avoid mistakes. It's not about having all the answers right now. It's about trusting yourself enough to take action, even without perfect certainty. When you're constantly caught in overthinking, you stop trusting your instincts. You rely too much on logic and not enough on your gut feeling, your intuition. Your mind starts to drown out everything else, and you become obsessed with finding the right answer instead of embracing the process. The truth is, sometimes there is no right answer, and that's okay. It's also easy to fall into the trap of overthinking when we're facing something uncertain or unfamiliar. When there's a lack of clarity, your brain tries to fill in the gaps, and this is where overthinking takes over. You want to know what's coming, how things will play out, but that kind of certainty isn't always possible. In fact, some of the best moments in life come from embracing uncertainty. They might feel scary or uncomfortable at first, but they open the door to new experiences, growth, and learning. But what happens when we overthink too much? Over time, the habit of overthinking can affect your mental health. It can lead to increased anxiety, stress, and even depression. The longer you stay in that constant state of overanalyzing everything, the harder it is to find peace. It's like holding your breath for too long. You might feel like you're managing things, but you're actually just creating more pressure. Eventually, your mind becomes so overwhelmed that you can't think clearly anymore. If you want to break free from the cycle of overthinking, the first step is recognizing it for what it is. It's a pattern, not a truth. Your thoughts aren't always accurate, and they don't always reflect reality. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true or that you have to act on it. The key to moving forward is learning how to step outside of the noise in your mind and find clarity. Sometimes, overthinking is driven by the fear of failure. You're afraid that if you don't think through every angle, you'll make a mistake or mess things up. But the truth is, failing isn't the worst thing that can happen. What's worse is staying stuck in indecision, letting fear control you. Every decision you make, even if it's a mistake, helps you learn and grow. It's all part of the journey. The next time you catch yourself overthinking, try to pause. Take a step back. You don't need to have all the answers right away. You don't need to control everything. Trust yourself to make decisions, even if they're not perfect. Life is about learning, growing, and moving forward, not about avoiding mistakes or seeking constant certainty. Letting go of overthinking doesn't mean ignoring your thoughts or emotions. It's about acknowledging them without letting them control you. It's about learning to trust yourself enough to take action, even in the face of uncertainty. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. And when you stop overthinking, you free up space for creativity, clarity, and peace. In the chapters ahead, we'll dive deeper into how you can start letting go of overthinking and create more mental space. You'll learn how to deal with the fear of uncertainty, trust your instincts, and make decisions with confidence. The road ahead won't always be easy, but with each step you'll be getting closer to the life you want to create, and that in itself is the most freeing thing of all. Chapter 2. The Science Behind Overthinking. Overthinking doesn't just happen for no reason. It's not something that's randomly triggered or out of your control. There's actually science behind it, and understanding that science can help you take control of the situation. Overthinking is a mental habit, and like any habit, it's formed over time, often as a result of both your environment and your brain's wiring. The more you engage in this pattern of thinking, the more deeply ingrained it becomes. At the core of overthinking is your brain's natural tendency to avoid uncertainty. When faced with something unknown, your mind feels discomfort and wants to solve it right away. This is because, on a basic level, your brain wants to predict the future to feel safe. In ancient times, this ability to anticipate what would happen next kept us alive. If you were walking in the woods and heard a rustling in the leaves, the brain would jump into overdrive to predict what that rustling meant. Was it a predator, or was it just the wind? The brain would think ahead, considering every possibility which could help you survive. That instinct is still with us today, but instead of predicting whether we're safe from predators, we're predicting how every decision we make will impact our future, down to the smallest detail. What happens when you overthink is that your brain is stuck in that mode of trying to predict every possible outcome. The anxiety you feel, the sense of being overwhelmed, comes from trying to cover all the bases, to figure out all the details, even the ones that don't matter. You're essentially putting yourself in a constant state of alert, even though there may not be any actual danger to your well-being. Your brain's ability to process information is incredible, but it has limitations. The brain is constantly filtering information and making sense of things, which is why it often jumps to conclusions or starts worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. This constant chatter in your mind is driven by the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing emotions, especially fear. When the amygdala is activated, your brain goes into overdrive, looking for any potential threat. This part of your brain is great for short bursts of stress or emergency situations, but when overactive, it can make you feel anxious, worried, and unable to move past your thoughts. The frontal lobe, which is responsible for higher-level thinking like decision-making, planning, and problem-solving, tries to step in and rationalize things, but it doesn't always win the battle. So, you end up with a situation where your emotions, especially fear, are running the show. The overthinking loop starts because your mind doesn't have a clear answer, and it panics, trying to search for one. You might feel like you're actively solving a problem, but the longer you dwell on something, the more your brain's natural response of fear keeps you in this heightened state. Another factor that contributes to overthinking is the idea of cognitive biases. These are patterns of thinking that distort how we interpret information, often leading us to overthink situations that aren't as complicated as we make them out to be. For example, one of the most common cognitive biases is the availability heuristic, which is when you base decisions on information that is most readily available to you, often memories of past experiences that may not be relevant to your current situation. If something bad happened in a similar situation before, your brain will bring up that memory to protect you, even if there's no real risk this time. This bias can lead to overthinking because your brain is more focused on past fears than on the facts of the current situation. Another cognitive bias, called catastrophizing, occurs when you assume the worst possible outcome. When you overthink, your brain might start imagining worst-case scenarios, assuming that if something can go wrong, it will. This can make even small decisions feel like they have huge, irreversible consequences, even when they don't. You start to predict all the things that could go wrong instead of focusing on the things that could go right. The thing is, your brain doesn't always distinguish between real threats and imagined threats. When you're thinking about something that causes anxiety, even if it's not directly harmful, your body reacts as if it were. Your heart rate increases, your muscles tense up, and your mind races with worry. This physical response, which is part of your body's natural fight or flight system, can trick you into thinking that the situation is far more dangerous than it actually is. Another element of overthinking is related to the constant stream of information we face in today's world. The way we are constantly connected to technology means we're exposed to an endless stream of news, social media, and opinions. This constant bombardment of information can overwhelm the mind, making it difficult to focus and process information properly. Over time, your mind becomes conditioned to keep seeking more and more information in order to feel like you're in control. But instead of finding peace or clarity, you just find more things to worry about. Your brain is overloaded with data, and it starts running in circles, trying to make sense of it all. Add to that the pressure we often place on ourselves to be perfect. When we hold ourselves to unrealistic standards, we add fuel to the fire of overthinking. The brain starts to feel that anything less than perfection is a failure, and so you overanalyze every decision, every move, trying to avoid making any mistake. But perfection is an illusion. No one is perfect, and expecting yourself to be perfect only sets you up for frustration. You'll never be able to predict or control every single outcome, no matter how much you overthink. Over time, overthinking becomes not only a mental habit, but a physical one. Your body becomes conditioned to this heightened state of stress. You might not even notice it, but if you're constantly overthinking, your muscles stay tense, your mind stays alert, and you're always on edge. This can contribute to chronic stress, which has real negative effects on your body. You may experience trouble sleeping, digestive problems, or even chronic pain as a result of this constant mental strain. The cycle becomes even harder to break when your body starts reacting to overthinking physically. Understanding the science behind overthinking can be a game changer when it comes to breaking free from the cycle. It helps you realize that your brain is doing its job by processing information, but it's also taking things too far. It helps you understand that overthinking is not a flaw in your character, but a natural response to fear, uncertainty, and the information overload that we live with today. The key to overcoming it lies in recognizing that you don't need to overthink in order to be prepared. You can take action without knowing every detail. You can trust yourself and your ability to handle things as they come. Once you recognize the science behind overthinking, you can start to detach from the need to predict every possible outcome. You can remind yourself that it's okay to not have all the answers and that you don't need to figure everything out in advance. Overthinking is not going to make you more prepared. It's going to keep you stuck. And the more you practice stepping back from those overactive thoughts, the easier it becomes to move forward with confidence, even in uncertainty. The next step is realizing that your brain will continue to try and bring you back into the cycle. It's going to want to take over, and that's okay. The important thing is to not feed into it. You don't have to engage with every thought. You don't have to believe every worry. Over time, as you begin to understand how your brain works and how overthinking affects you, you'll start to gain control. Your thoughts don't have to dictate your actions. You can choose to step outside the noise and take steps forward, one small action at a time, trusting that you have the ability to handle whatever comes your way. Chapter 3. Identifying your triggers. Overthinking isn't something that happens out of nowhere. It's triggered by various factors, some of which are deeply rooted in your life experiences and current circumstances. The key to breaking free from the overthinking cycle is understanding what specifically sets it off for you. Once you can identify your triggers, you can begin to take steps toward reducing their impact and regaining control of your mind. Think about the times when you find yourself overthinking. Is it when you're making a big decision, like choosing a career path or making a major purchase? Or is it when you're faced with a conflict, either with someone else or within yourself? Many people find that their overthinking is most intense when they are faced with uncertainty. The unknown can trigger a flood of worries and doubts as your mind scrambles to figure out every possible outcome. This is often when the what-if thoughts start taking over. What if I make the wrong choice? What if things don't go as planned? What if I fail? These questions can quickly spiral out of control, leaving you feeling paralyzed by indecision. Another common trigger for overthinking is stress. When you're feeling overwhelmed by responsibilities, whether it's work, family, or personal goals, your mind tends to go into problem-solving mode. You might start thinking about every little detail, trying to figure out how to handle everything at once. This can lead to mental exhaustion and a sense that you're never truly in control. Stress can make it harder to focus and can amplify feelings of doubt and uncertainty, causing your thoughts to race in circles without offering any real solutions. Social situations can also be triggers for overthinking. Many people experience a surge of overthinking after a conversation or interaction, especially if there's been a misunderstanding or if they're unsure about how they were perceived. It's easy to start questioning every word you said, wondering if you made the right impression or if you said something that might have offended someone. You might even replay the situation in your mind, going over it repeatedly, trying to figure out what went wrong or how you could have said things differently. This constant replaying of events can leave you feeling stuck and prevent you from moving forward. Other times, overthinking arises from internal struggles. Negative self-talk, insecurity, or self-doubt can all contribute to a cycle of overthinking. If you're not confident in your abilities, or if you've experienced setbacks in the past, your mind might constantly second-guess your decisions and abilities. This lack of confidence can make you question even the most minor choices, causing you to overanalyze everything. In this state, it becomes difficult to trust your instincts or believe that you can handle challenges without obsessing over every little detail. Perfectionism is another common trigger for overthinking. If you have high standards for yourself, you might feel the need to get everything exactly right. The fear of making a mistake or not living up to expectations can lead to an endless cycle of overthinking. Instead of taking action, you might spend hours or even days deliberating over every detail, trying to ensure that nothing goes wrong. But perfection is an illusion. It's impossible to predict every outcome or control every variable, no matter how hard you try. The pursuit of perfection can actually prevent you from taking the steps that would lead to progress, leaving you stuck in a loop of indecision and overthinking. External pressures can also exacerbate the tendency to overthink. Society often places expectations on us to succeed in certain areas, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or social lives. The pressure to meet these expectations can be overwhelming, especially when you feel that your worth is tied to your achievements. When you're constantly trying to meet external standards, you may start to question your decisions and your self-worth. This can lead to overthinking as you try to anticipate what others expect from you and how your choices will be judged. Another factor that contributes to overthinking is the way we perceive time. When we feel like we're running out of time or that we're on a tight deadline, the pressure can make our thoughts race. This can lead to a sense of urgency that encourages overthinking. Instead of taking a step back to think clearly and make well-considered choices, you might find yourself scrambling to make decisions quickly without giving yourself the time and space to process things properly. Over time, these triggers create a feedback loop that reinforces the habit of overthinking. The more you experience these triggers, the more your brain becomes wired to respond with excessive thought. What starts as an occasional moment of doubt or worry becomes a constant pattern, as your mind continues to react in the same way whenever you're faced with uncertainty, stress, or external pressure. Recognizing your triggers is the first step toward breaking the overthinking cycle. When you can identify what sets off your overthinking, you can start to take steps to manage it. Start by paying attention to when your thoughts begin to spiral. Are you feeling stressed, anxious, overwhelmed? Are you facing a big decision or trying to meet a certain expectation? Once you recognize the triggers, you can begin to challenge the thoughts and feelings that arise in response. For example, if you notice that uncertainty is a trigger for your overthinking, you can practice accepting that not everything is within your control. You can remind yourself that it's okay to not have all the answers and that life is full of unknowns. You can start to focus on taking one step at a time instead of trying to figure out everything at once. If social situations tend to trigger overthinking, try to remind yourself that most people are not as focused on you as you think they are. People are often caught up in their own thoughts and worries, so the chances are that any perceived missteps or awkward moments were not as significant to others as they were to you. By letting go of the need to be perfect in every interaction, you can start to enjoy social situations without overanalyzing every detail. When perfectionism is the trigger, it's important to remind yourself that making mistakes is a natural part of the process. Mistakes don't define you, they help you grow and learn. Instead of obsessing over every detail, give yourself permission to take action and make progress, even if it's not perfect. Taking imperfect action is far more valuable than staying stuck in indecision. If external pressure is contributing to your overthinking, take a step back and ask yourself whose expectations you're really trying to meet. Are you living your life according to your own values, or are you trying to live up to the standards set by others? Reconnect with what truly matters to you and let go of the need for external validation. Learning to identify your triggers is an ongoing process, and it takes time and practice. You won't always be able to avoid them or stop them in their tracks, but with awareness, you can begin to respond in a healthier way. The more you practice recognizing your triggers, the easier it will become to manage your thoughts and prevent overthinking from taking over. Eventually, you'll find that you have more control over your mind and can break free from the cycle of overthinking that once held you back. Chapter 4. Breaking the overthinking cycle. Overthinking can feel like you're stuck in a mental loop, constantly spinning through a series of thoughts that never seem to lead anywhere productive. It's frustrating because it often leaves you feeling paralyzed, unable to make decisions or take action. The more you think about something, the more tangled your mind becomes, and before you know it, hours, days, or even weeks have passed without any real progress. Breaking free from this cycle can be challenging, but it is absolutely possible. The key lies in recognizing when you're caught in it and taking active steps to shift your mindset and habits. The first step to breaking the cycle of overthinking is to become aware of when it's happening. In the moment, it can be difficult to spot because overthinking often feels like it's part of the decision-making process. You might think you're just trying to figure something out or gather more information, but instead, you're just spinning your wheels. You may find yourself constantly replaying a conversation, decision, or situation over and over, trying to figure out what went wrong or what you should have done differently. The longer you dwell on it, the more you're feeding the cycle. One way to recognize when you're overthinking is to ask yourself if you're moving closer to a solution or just getting more tangled in doubt. Are you coming up with new ideas or solutions, or are you just recycling the same thoughts and concerns? If you find that you're stuck in a loop, it's a clear sign that you've crossed over into overthinking territory. It's easy to get lost in your head, but being able to catch yourself in the act is the first step to breaking free. Once you've identified when overthinking is happening, it's time to interrupt the cycle. The longer you stay stuck in it, the harder it becomes to break free. One of the most effective ways to stop overthinking is to take a break from the situation. If you're caught in a mental loop, step away from the issue for a while. Do something else. Go for a walk, engage in a hobby, or talk to a friend. The goal is to give your mind a chance to reset so that you can come back to the situation with a clearer perspective. This pause doesn't mean that you're avoiding the problem or running away from it. It simply gives your brain the chance to process things from a different angle. Sometimes, the best way to solve a problem is to give yourself space to think about it in a relaxed, non-pressured environment. When you come back to the issue later, you might find that you have a clearer idea of what to do next, or that the decision doesn't seem as overwhelming as it once did. Another way to break the cycle is to challenge your thoughts. When you're overthinking, it's easy to blow things out of proportion. You might imagine worst-case scenarios or exaggerate the potential consequences of a decision. This kind of thinking is often fueled by fear and anxiety, but it's important to ask yourself whether your thoughts are based on reality or simply a product of your worries. Are you overestimating the risks or imagining outcomes that are unlikely to happen? By challenging these thoughts and replacing them with more balanced, realistic perspectives, you can reduce the power they have over you. For example, if you're overthinking a decision at work, ask yourself what the real consequences are if you make a mistake. What's the worst that could happen? Often, the worst-case scenario isn't as catastrophic as it feels in your head. Once you break it down, you might realize that the risks are manageable and that you're more capable of handling them than you initially thought. When you challenge your overactive mind, you take away its power to control you. One powerful tool for breaking the cycle of overthinking is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. It's about observing your thoughts without becoming attached to them or letting them dictate your actions. When you practice mindfulness, you can learn to notice when your mind starts to wander into overthinking territory. You can catch yourself before the cycle gets too intense and gently bring your focus back to the present. Mindfulness is a skill that takes time to develop, but it can be incredibly effective in breaking the overthinking pattern. It helps you detach from your thoughts and see them for what they are, just thoughts. You don't have to believe every thought that comes into your head, and you don't have to act on every impulse. Mindfulness allows you to create space between you and your thoughts, giving you the opportunity to make more thoughtful, deliberate decisions rather than being swept away by your mental chatter. Another way to break free from overthinking is to focus on what you can control. Often, overthinking arises when you're trying to manage things that are beyond your control. You might get stuck in a cycle of worrying about things that haven't even happened yet, or you might try to predict every possible outcome. This kind of thinking leaves you feeling powerless and overwhelmed because, in reality, you can't control every aspect of your life. The more you try, the more you get stuck in an endless cycle of doubt. Instead of focusing on everything that's outside your control, shift your attention to what you can do. Take small, actionable steps towards solving the problem or making progress. If you're faced with a decision, break it down into manageable steps. Focus on the next action you can take, rather than getting overwhelmed by the bigger picture. This will not only help you make more grounded decisions, but will also reduce the urge to overthink every possible scenario. You can also reduce the need to overthink by setting time limits for yourself. If you're struggling to make a decision, give yourself a set amount of time to think it over and then move forward. Trust that you've given it enough thought and that it's time to take action. The longer you spend overanalyzing, the more you'll delay making a choice and the more your mind will spiral into uncertainty. By setting a time limit, you force yourself to make a decision and move on, rather than getting stuck in an endless cycle of doubt. One of the hardest parts of breaking the overthinking cycle is learning to trust yourself. Overthinking often stems from a lack of confidence, as you question whether you're making the right choice or doing the right thing. But the more you practice making decisions and taking action, the more you'll build your confidence. Trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way, even if things don't go perfectly. Trust that you have the ability to adapt and learn from your experiences. Remember that breaking the cycle of overthinking is a process. It won't happen overnight, and you may find yourself slipping back into old habits from time to time. But with practice, you'll become better at recognizing when you're overthinking and taking steps to move past it. The more you interrupt the cycle, the easier it will become to make decisions, take action, and move forward with clarity and confidence. By becoming aware of when you're overthinking, challenging your thoughts, practicing mindfulness, focusing on what you can control and trusting yourself, you can break free from the cycle of overthinking and start living with greater peace of mind. Each time you interrupt the pattern and take action, you're building momentum toward a life of less stress, more confidence, and greater fulfillment. It may not always be easy, but the more you practice, the more natural it will feel to step out of the overthinking trap and into a life of clarity and focus. Chapter 5. Making decisions with confidence. Making decisions with confidence is something that often feels easier said than done, especially when there's so much at stake. But confidence in decision-making isn't about being certain you'll make the perfect choice every time. It's about trusting yourself to make a decision, take action, and adapt along the way. The key to making confident decisions lies in shifting your mindset, building trust in your judgment, and taking small, consistent steps to strengthen your decision-making abilities. The first step to making confident decisions is acknowledging that no one can predict the future with complete certainty. Every decision, whether big or small, carries some level of risk, but that's part of life. If you wait until you're completely certain about every outcome, you'll never make a decision. The truth is, making a decision often means accepting that you can't control every variable and that there will always be unknowns. Recognizing this truth is liberating because it allows you to stop waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect answer. In reality, there is rarely a perfect solution. There's only the decision you make with the information you have at the time. Understanding this can free you from the paralysis that comes with overthinking. You don't need all the answers right now. You just need to make a decision and move forward. Confidence comes from practicing decision-making. The more decisions you make, the easier it becomes to trust your own judgment. Even if you make a mistake, you learn from it. Every decision, good or bad, is an opportunity for growth. The key is not to let fear of making the wrong choice stop you from acting. When you hesitate out of fear, you miss out on valuable opportunities to learn and grow. Start by making smaller decisions. Choose what to have for lunch, pick a movie, or decide what to wear for the day. These decisions may seem trivial, but they're a great way to practice making choices without overthinking. The more comfortable you become with smaller decisions, the more confidence you'll build to make bigger ones. As you get into the habit of making decisions, you'll become more comfortable trusting your instincts and taking action. Another important factor in decision-making is being clear about your values and priorities. When you know what matters most to you, it becomes easier to make decisions that align with your goals and beliefs. For example, if you value health and wellness, choosing to exercise rather than skip your workout becomes a clear decision that aligns with your priorities. Similarly, if you value personal growth, choosing opportunities that challenge you and help you grow will be easier because you know what you want to achieve. Knowing your values also helps you make decisions more quickly. When faced with a tough choice, you can ask yourself, does this align with my values? If the answer is yes, you can move forward with confidence. If the answer is no, you can take that as a sign to reconsider your options. Having this clarity eliminates the confusion and doubt that often come with decision-making. Another aspect of making confident decisions is learning to trust your intuition. Intuition is often seen as an abstract concept, but it's simply the gut feeling that arises when you have enough experience or knowledge to make a decision, even without all the details. It's the part of you that senses when something feels right or wrong, even if you can't explain why. Intuition doesn't replace rational thought. It works alongside it. When you learn to trust your gut feelings, you're tapping into your subconscious knowledge and experience. However, intuition isn't something you can simply turn on or off. It grows with experience. The more you make decisions, the more you tune into your own intuition. With time, you'll get better at recognizing the quiet, confident voice that helps guide your choices. When you feel that gut instinct pushing you toward one option over another, it's worth paying attention. Another key to making confident decisions is reframing the way you view mistakes. No one likes to make mistakes, but they are a natural part of life. Mistakes are not failures, they are learning opportunities. When you make a decision that doesn't work out the way you hoped, it's not the end of the world. It's a chance to adjust, pivot, and try again. Viewing mistakes as valuable learning experiences rather than setbacks can help you approach decision-making with less fear and more confidence. Being afraid of making mistakes can cause you to hesitate, second-guess yourself, and avoid making any decision at all. But inaction is often worse than making a decision and learning from it. Taking action, even if the outcome isn't perfect, helps you gain momentum and clarity. Each decision you make, whether it turns out as expected or not, teaches you something valuable that will help you make better choices in the future. You can also build confidence by focusing on the process, not just the outcome. It's easy to get caught up in the end result of a decision, but the process is just as important. When you focus on the steps you need to take to make a decision, gathering information, considering options, and weighing the pros and cons, you shift your attention from the pressure of getting the right answer to the practical task of making the best decision you can with the information available. This shift in focus helps reduce the anxiety and pressure that often accompany decision-making. Confidence also grows from a mindset of growth. When you approach decision-making with the belief that you can learn and grow from any situation, you naturally become more confident in your choices. Rather than seeing decisions as high-stakes situations, you can view them as opportunities for development. Even if things don't go perfectly, you'll gain experience that helps you make better decisions in the future. This mindset shift helps you approach decisions with a sense of curiosity and openness rather than fear or anxiety. It's also important to surround yourself with supportive people who encourage your decision-making process. The people you spend time with can have a significant impact on your confidence. Seek out individuals who inspire you, who trust you, and who believe in your abilities. Having a strong support system gives you the reassurance that even if a decision doesn't go as planned, you have people who will support you and help you bounce back. And remember that confidence in decision-making is not about perfection. It's about trusting yourself to make choices, take action, and learn from the experience. You won't always get it right, and that's okay. What matters is that you keep making decisions and keep moving forward. Confidence is built through action, not inaction. By taking small steps, trusting your judgment, and learning from each experience, you'll build the kind of decision-making confidence that allows you to face life's challenges with clarity and resilience. Making confident decisions is less about getting every choice right and more about trusting your ability to navigate whatever comes your way. Each decision, no matter how big or small, helps you grow stronger, clearer, and more capable. The more you embrace the process of making decisions, the more you'll strengthen your belief in yourself. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, one decision at a time. Chapter 6. Silencing your inner critic. Learning to silence your inner critic is one of the most powerful ways to regain control over your thoughts and actions. We all have that voice inside our heads that questions our abilities, criticizes our choices, and amplifies our doubts. The problem is that voice often becomes so loud and persistent that it's hard to distinguish it from the truth. It can make us second-guess ourselves and hold us back from achieving our full potential. But what if you could learn to quiet that voice and replace it with something more supportive? Imagine the freedom and confidence you'd have if you could shut down those negative thoughts before they take control. The first step in silencing the inner critic is recognizing it for what it is: just a voice, a thought, not an objective truth. This voice is often shaped by our fears, past experiences, and societal pressures. It tends to be hypercritical and unrealistic. When you hear it, pause and ask yourself, is this really true? More often than not, the answer is no. Your inner critic thrives on exaggeration and negativity, but it doesn't reflect your true worth or abilities. The key to managing this inner voice is not to eliminate it entirely, but to learn how to separate it from your true self. Recognizing that the voice of the critic isn't who you are is liberating. You are not your negative thoughts. The inner critic is just one part of your mind, and it doesn't have to control your actions or your self-esteem. When you can identify these thoughts as temporary and unhelpful, it's easier to dismiss them and move forward. One way to quiet the inner critic is through awareness and mindfulness. Often, we're so caught up in our day-to-day thoughts that we don't even realize how frequently the inner critic is talking. You might hear it telling you you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, or that you don't deserve success. But the more you practice mindfulness, the more you can become aware of these thoughts as they arise. Once you notice them, you have the power to let them go. You don't have to entertain them or believe them. Instead, you can choose to focus on something else, something positive or neutral that doesn't trigger negative emotions. Another technique is to reframe the criticism in a more constructive way. For example, if your inner critic says, "You're terrible at this, you'll never get it right," reframe that thought into something more encouraging like, "I'm still learning, and every mistake is an opportunity to improve." This simple shift in perspective helps you see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as confirmation of failure. It's about shifting the narrative in your mind from one of judgment to one of support. You can also challenge the validity of the inner critic's statements by comparing them to past experiences. Think back to times when you've been successful, when you've overcome obstacles, or when you've achieved something you didn't think was possible. Remind yourself of your strengths, talents, and accomplishments. The inner critic tends to focus on your weaknesses and mistakes, but you can counterbalance that by focusing on your achievements. By recalling real examples of when you've succeeded, you can begin to disarm the inner critic's power. Building self-compassion is another powerful tool in silencing the inner critic. Being kind to yourself when you make mistakes or face challenges is crucial for quieting that negative voice. The inner critic often thrives when you're hard on yourself. But when you approach yourself with compassion, understanding, and patience, it's much harder for the critic to gain traction. Instead of saying, "I'm such an idiot for making that mistake," try saying, "It's okay, everyone makes mistakes. I'll learn from this and do better next time." This gentle approach can gradually weaken the inner critic's grip on your mind. It's also helpful to remember that no one is perfect, and everyone experiences moments of self-doubt. The inner critic may make you feel like you're the only one who's struggling, but the truth is, we all face negative thoughts from time to time. It's part of being human. The difference is that some people have learned how to manage their inner critic and don't let it control their actions. You can do the same. Another way to silence the inner critic is by setting small, achievable goals. Often, the inner critic gets louder when we feel overwhelmed by big tasks or uncertain outcomes. Breaking down your goals into smaller, manageable steps makes them feel more achievable and reduces the space for negative thoughts. As you accomplish each small step, you'll build confidence and start to quiet the inner critic. With every win, no matter how small, you're sending a message to your mind that you are capable and competent. You can also use affirmations to counteract the negativity of the inner critic. Positive affirmations are simple, positive statements that you repeat to yourself regularly. They can be about your abilities, your worth, or your potential. For example, "I am worthy of success," or "I trust myself to make good decisions," can be powerful reminders of your value. By consistently affirming these truths, you gradually replace the negative thoughts with positive, supportive ones. Over time, this can lead to a shift in your self-perception, making the inner critic less powerful. Surrounding yourself with positive influences can also help reduce the impact of the inner critic. The people you spend time with can have a significant effect on how you see yourself. If you're around people who are supportive, encouraging, and uplifting, it's easier to drown out the negative voice inside your head. On the other hand, being around critical or negative people can amplify the inner critic's voice. Choose to spend time with those who lift you up, believe in you, and help you feel good about yourself. The process of silencing your inner critic takes time, and it's normal to face setbacks along the way. There will be days when that critical voice seems louder than ever, but don't let it discourage you. The goal isn't to eliminate the inner critic entirely, but to learn how to manage it and not let it control your thoughts or actions. Over time, as you practice these techniques and build a more supportive inner dialogue, the critic will lose its power. It's also important to be patient with yourself. Silencing the inner critic is a journey, not a destination. It takes consistent effort and practice, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Don't expect perfection, and don't beat yourself up when the inner critic makes an appearance. Just remember that you have the tools to quiet it, and with time, you'll become more skilled at handling it. Ultimately, silencing your inner critic is about regaining control over your thoughts and replacing negativity with self-compassion, confidence, and support. It's about recognizing that the voice inside your head doesn't define you. You are worthy of success, and you are capable of achieving your goals. By practicing these techniques, you can quiet the inner critic and start living a life that's driven by positivity, self-belief, and the knowledge that you are enough, just as you are. Chapter 7. Letting go of the need for control. Trying to control everything around you is exhausting. It drains your energy, increases stress, and often leads to feelings of frustration when things don't go according to plan. The need for control is a natural human impulse. It gives us a sense of safety, certainty, and predictability. But in reality, control is an illusion. There are countless factors in life that are beyond our influence. The sooner you accept that, the more peace you'll find in your day-to-day life. It's easy to believe that if we could just get things under control, we would be able to relax and stop worrying. But control doesn't bring the relief we expect. Instead, it can create more tension and anxiety. When we obsess over every detail, we miss out on the joy of living in the moment. We become fixated on outcomes, on having everything go just right. And when things don't unfold as we imagine, it can feel like everything is falling apart. The truth is, life is unpredictable, and there will always be things that we can't control. One of the first steps toward letting go of the need for control is recognizing what you can and cannot influence. For example, you can't control how other people act, what the weather will be like tomorrow, or what's going to happen in the future. What you can control is how you react to these things. When you shift your focus from trying to control external circumstances to managing your own responses, you free yourself from unnecessary stress. Instead of wasting energy trying to change things that are outside your control, you can direct that energy into something productive like taking care of your well-being or working toward your goals. Letting go of the need for control also means letting go of perfectionism. Perfectionism thrives in an environment where we believe that if we control every detail, we will achieve a perfect result. But perfection is an impossible standard. No matter how hard we try, things will never be flawless. And that's okay. In fact, imperfection is often where the magic happens. It's in the mistakes, the missteps, and the detours that we learn and grow. When you stop trying to control every little thing, you open yourself up to the possibility of learning from the unexpected. You allow room for creativity, innovation, and personal growth. Another important part of letting go of control is learning to trust the process. We often feel the need to control every step of the journey, but sometimes the best thing we can do is trust that things will unfold as they're meant to. This doesn't mean that you should give up on planning or taking action. Rather, it means that you stop obsessing over the outcome. Instead of focusing solely on the destination, embrace the journey for what it is. Trust that each step you take is leading you to where you need to be, even if it doesn't always look the way you imagined. When you start to let go of control, it's also important to recognize the role of fear in your desire to control. Often, our need for control is driven by a fear of the unknown. We fear what might happen if things go off track. But the truth is, uncertainty is a part of life. Embracing it instead of fearing it can be incredibly liberating. Life doesn't have to be predictable to be beautiful. Sometimes the best things happen when we least expect them. The more we resist uncertainty, the more we suffer. But when we allow ourselves to be open to the unknown, we become more adaptable, resilient, and capable of handling whatever comes our way. Practicing mindfulness is a powerful tool when it comes to letting go of control. Mindfulness helps us stay grounded in the present moment and let go of the need to control everything. When we focus on the here and now, we stop worrying about the past or the future. We stop trying to manage everything and simply accept things as they are. Mindfulness teaches us to be present with our thoughts, feelings, and experiences without judgment. This helps us see that we don't need to control everything in order to be happy or successful. We can trust that life will unfold as it's meant to, and that we have the ability to handle whatever comes our way. It's also helpful to practice self-compassion when letting go of control. We can be our own harshest critics, especially when things don't go as planned. But being kind to yourself is essential. Understand that you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to have everything under control. It's okay to make mistakes, to fail, and to not have all the answers. Be gentle with yourself as you navigate the process of letting go. The more you practice self-compassion, the more you'll be able to accept that you don't need to control every aspect of your life to be worthy of love and success. Another key aspect of letting go of control is learning to delegate and trust others. Often we hold on to control because we don't trust others to handle things the way we would. But this only leads to burnout and frustration. Instead of trying to do everything yourself, start learning to share the load. Trust that others have the skills and capabilities to handle tasks and responsibilities. Delegating doesn't make you weak or incapable, it makes you smart. It frees up your time and energy to focus on what truly matters. And it helps you build stronger relationships with the people around you by showing that you trust them. It's also important to embrace the concept of surrender. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the need to force things to happen. It's about accepting that sometimes things will unfold in ways that we can't predict, and that's okay. It's trusting that there's a bigger plan at work, even when we can't see it. Surrendering allows us to let go of the need for constant control and find peace in the uncertainty. When we let go, we create space for new opportunities and experiences to enter our lives. Letting go of control doesn't mean that you stop working hard or taking responsibility for your actions. It means that you stop trying to force outcomes and you trust that things will unfold as they are meant to. It's about finding peace in the process rather than obsessing over the end result. When you release the need for control, you open yourself up to new possibilities and create space for growth, creativity, and joy. Ultimately, the more you let go of the need for control, the more you'll experience freedom. You'll stop carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders and start living with a greater sense of ease. You'll find that you can still accomplish your goals and live a fulfilling life, even if things don't always go according to plan. When you let go of the need for control, you free yourself to enjoy life as it comes, knowing that you have the strength and resilience to handle whatever challenges may arise. Chapter 8. Detaching from negative thoughts. Negative thoughts can feel overpowering, especially when they seem to take over your mind without warning. They appear in the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts or when things aren't going as planned. These thoughts often create a loop, repeating themselves and growing stronger. They can make you doubt your abilities, question your decisions, or feel like you're not enough. In reality, these negative thoughts don't reflect who you are or your worth. They are simply your mind reacting to stress, fear, or uncertainty. Recognizing this is the first step in freeing yourself from their grip. It's important to realize that negative thoughts are not truths. They don't define you or your future. Everyone has them at some point. They can be triggered by many things: past experiences, insecurities, or even small setbacks that feel overwhelming in the moment. But the key is not to get trapped by them. Negative thoughts thrive when we give them too much attention or when we let them dictate our emotions and actions. The more energy we give to them, the stronger they become, and before long they can cloud our judgment and steal our peace of mind. The first thing you can do to detach from negative thoughts is to challenge them. When a negative thought arises, ask yourself whether it's really true. Often, these thoughts are based on assumptions or fears rather than facts. For example, you might think, "I'm terrible at this," after making a mistake. But is that true? Or is it just a momentary setback? Maybe you've succeeded at similar tasks before. Or maybe this mistake is just part of the learning process. When you question the validity of negative thoughts, you give yourself the space to think more clearly and rationally. It can also help to recognize when negative thoughts are based on past experiences rather than the present moment. Sometimes our minds link present situations to past failures or traumas, which creates unnecessary anxiety. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that the past will repeat itself. But the truth is that every moment is different. What happened before doesn't have to happen again. Each day is a new opportunity, and you have the power to approach things differently. When you catch yourself thinking negatively about the present, remind yourself that you are not the same person you were in the past, and this situation is unique. Another way to detach from negative thoughts is to practice mindfulness. This means becoming aware of your thoughts without judgment. Rather than getting caught up in them, observe them from a distance. Notice when they arise and simply acknowledge them as passing thoughts, not facts. This practice helps you to detach from your thoughts and prevent them from spiraling into something bigger. By staying present and aware, you reduce the power of negative thoughts and regain control of your mind. When you start practicing mindfulness, it can be helpful to create a space in your day where you intentionally focus on being present. This could be through meditation, deep breathing, or simply taking a few minutes to sit quietly and observe your thoughts. As you build this habit, you'll start to notice that negative thoughts no longer have the same hold over you. You'll learn to let them pass by without getting swept up in them. It's also important to remember that emotions and thoughts are not the same. While your thoughts might tell you something negative, your emotions might not align with that thought. You might think you're not good enough, but you feel frustrated or discouraged, not defeated. Recognizing that your thoughts and feelings are separate can help you gain perspective. Just because a negative thought arises doesn't mean you have to act on it or let it dictate your emotions. You can acknowledge the thought, but choose to move forward without letting it control you. It's also essential to replace negative thoughts with more balanced, constructive ones. When you find yourself thinking something negative, challenge yourself to think of at least one positive or neutral aspect of the situation. For instance, if you're thinking, "I always mess things up," reframe it by acknowledging, "I made a mistake, but I'm learning and improving with every experience." This shift in thinking helps you take ownership of the situation while also giving yourself grace. Instead of focusing on failure, you can focus on growth and progress. The way you talk to yourself is also a powerful tool in detaching from negative thoughts. Your inner dialogue shapes your mindset. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough or that you'll never succeed, you start to believe it. But when you shift your self-talk to something more encouraging, you can change your outlook. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to a friend, kindly, patiently, and with understanding. When you make a habit of being compassionate with yourself, it becomes easier to let go of negative thoughts. Another approach to detaching from negative thoughts is to focus on gratitude. When your mind is flooded with negativity, it's easy to forget the positive aspects of your life. But by intentionally practicing gratitude, you shift your focus away from what's wrong to what's right. You might start by writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. This simple practice can have a profound impact on your mental well-being. It reminds you that there is good in your life, even when your mind tries to convince you otherwise. It can also help to reframe your negative thoughts in a more positive light. Instead of thinking, "I'll never be able to do this," try thinking, "I don't know how to do this yet, but I'm capable of figuring it out." This shift in perspective empowers you to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. It's all about changing your mindset from one of defeat to one of possibility. Don't be afraid to seek support when negative thoughts become overwhelming. Talking to someone you trust, whether it's a friend, family member, or therapist, can help you gain perspective and see things more clearly. Sometimes, just verbalizing your thoughts can help you detach from them and realize that they don't have to control your life. It's important to remember that you don't have to go through this alone. Seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Detaching from negative thoughts isn't about completely eliminating them. It's about gaining the ability to recognize them, question their validity, and choose not to let them control your life. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Over time, you'll develop a greater sense of self-awareness, and your negative thoughts will have less power over you. You'll learn to accept them as part of the human experience, but not something that defines you. By detaching from negativity, you open yourself up to a more peaceful, positive, and fulfilling life. Chapter 9. Releasing emotional baggage. Emotions can be powerful. They often carry the weight of past experiences, fears, and unspoken pain. It's not always easy to let go of the emotions that weigh us down, especially when they've been with us for so long. But the truth is, holding on to emotional baggage does nothing but hinder your progress and keep you stuck in the past. The first step in letting go of this emotional weight is acknowledging that it's time for a change. Holding on to the past doesn't allow space for growth, healing, or new experiences. When you let go of emotional baggage, you're not forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't matter. Instead, you're choosing to move forward and make room for new opportunities. Often, emotional baggage comes in the form of unresolved feelings. These could be related to past relationships, personal disappointments, or experiences where you felt hurt, rejected, or abandoned. What makes these emotions so heavy is the fact that they are tied to old wounds, places in our hearts that haven't fully healed. When we continue to carry these emotions, they become like anchors, weighing us down every time we try to move forward. The more we hold on to them, the more they define our actions and choices. We end up repeating patterns from the past, thinking that's all we're capable of, or becoming afraid to open ourselves to new possibilities. One of the most important things to realize is that these emotions do not define who you are. You are not your past, and you are not the mistakes, regrets, or disappointments you may have experienced. While they are part of your story, they don't have to shape your future. Letting go of emotional baggage starts with changing your perspective. Instead of seeing these experiences as burdens, try to view them as lessons. Each experience, even the painful ones, holds the potential for growth. They've helped shape you into who you are today, but they don't need to hold you back. A big part of letting go involves forgiving. Forgiving others and, just as importantly, forgiving yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It simply means releasing the power that the situation or person has over you. When you forgive, you let go of the emotional grip that past events have on your heart. You free yourself from the need for closure or justice, and you stop allowing the past to dictate your emotions. Forgiveness can be challenging. It's easy to feel like you need an apology or an explanation before you can let go. But the truth is, forgiveness is something you do for yourself, not for the other person. You are the one carrying the weight. They may never offer an apology, and you can't control that. What you can control is your choice to let go and find peace. Holding on to anger or resentment only keeps you tied to the past. It's like carrying around a heavy suitcase that you don't need. Once you decide to let go of the emotional burden, you lighten your load and free up space for better things. Another important part of releasing emotional baggage is recognizing the patterns it has created in your life. Often, when we haven't fully let go of past hurts, we start to see them play out in our relationships and behaviors. For example, someone who has been hurt in a past relationship might struggle with trust in future relationships, even if the person they are with is completely trustworthy. These patterns are often unconscious, and they prevent us from moving forward in healthy ways. Identifying these patterns is an important part of the healing process. By recognizing them, you can begin to break the cycle and create healthier ways of responding to challenges. Journaling can be a helpful tool in this process. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can provide clarity and help you process emotions that you may have been holding on to for years. Sometimes, we avoid feeling certain emotions because they feel too overwhelming or uncomfortable. But when we allow ourselves to face them head-on, we begin to release their hold over us. Writing gives us the opportunity to reflect on what we've been through, to process our feelings, and to work through difficult emotions at our own pace. It's a safe space where we can express ourselves without judgment. In addition to journaling, talking to someone you trust can also be incredibly cathartic. It might be difficult at first, but sharing your feelings with a friend, therapist, or support group can offer a sense of relief. Often, we hold on to emotional baggage because we feel isolated in our pain. When we open up to others, we realize that we are not alone in our struggles. People who care about us can offer compassion, empathy, and sometimes just a fresh perspective. This can help you see things more clearly and allow you to let go of emotions that no longer serve you. One of the most powerful ways to let go of emotional baggage is to practice self-compassion. When we experience pain, we can be our own harshest critics, telling ourselves that we should have done better or that we are weak for feeling hurt. But the truth is, everyone goes through difficult times. Everyone experiences loss, disappointment, and heartbreak. You are not alone in your struggles. Be gentle with yourself, and remember that healing is a process. There's no timeline for when you should be over something. Be patient with yourself as you work through your emotions. Treat yourself with the same kindness that you would offer a friend who is going through a hard time. In addition to self-compassion, it's important to take care of your emotional and physical well-being. Engaging in activities that promote mental and emotional health, such as exercise, mindfulness, or creative outlets, can help you release emotional tension and find a sense of peace. Taking care of your body and mind is an important part of the healing process. It's easy to neglect your well-being when you're carrying emotional baggage, but prioritizing self-care allows you to process your emotions more effectively. When you begin to let go of emotional baggage, you start to experience more freedom. You free yourself from the constant weight of past pain, and you open yourself up to new possibilities. Your mind becomes clearer, and you find yourself more present in the moment, rather than stuck in the past. Your relationships become healthier, and you begin to make choices that align with who you truly are, not who you used to be. Releasing emotional baggage is not about forgetting the past. It's about choosing not to let it control you anymore. It's about taking the lessons from the past and using them to create a better future. It's about realizing that you deserve peace, happiness, and fulfillment, and that holding on to the past only prevents you from experiencing all of that. Ultimately, letting go of emotional baggage is an act of self-love. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of living a life free from the weight of past hurts. It's about giving yourself permission to heal and to move forward. Letting go takes time, patience, and courage, but the rewards are worth it. When you let go, you create space for new experiences, new relationships, and a new version of yourself that is no longer defined by the past. You open yourself up to the possibility of becoming the person you were always meant to be. Chapter 10. Overcoming fear of failure. Fear of failure is something that almost everyone experiences at some point in their lives. It can feel overwhelming, paralyzing, and often holds us back from pursuing our goals and dreams. We spend so much time worrying about the possibility of things going wrong that we convince ourselves it's better not to try at all. But the truth is, failure is not the end. It's simply part of the journey. The fear of failure comes from a place of uncertainty. We fear the unknown, the things we cannot control, and the possibility of disappointment. This fear can sometimes be so strong that it causes us to doubt our own abilities and hold ourselves back from taking risks or stepping outside of our comfort zone. What we need to realize is that failure is not a reflection of who we are. It's a natural part of growth. No one succeeds every single time they try. In fact, some of the most successful people in the world have failed more times than they can count. The difference is, they didn't let those failures define them. Instead, they used them as stepping stones to success. Failure is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become better at what we do. It teaches us valuable lessons that we can use the next time we face a challenge. Without failure, there can be no growth. If we never try, we never have the chance to succeed. One of the reasons why we fear failure is because of the way we perceive it. We often see failure as something shameful, something that should be avoided at all costs. We think that if we fail, we'll be judged by others or that it will mean we're not good enough. But this mindset only reinforces the fear. When we change the way we think about failure, we can begin to embrace it as a necessary part of the process. Instead of seeing it as a negative outcome, we can start to see it as an opportunity for growth. Failure is not something to fear, it's something to learn from. When we stop fearing failure, we free ourselves from the chains that hold us back. We become more willing to take risks, try new things, and put ourselves out there. One of the biggest obstacles to overcoming the fear of failure is perfectionism. We often feel like everything we do has to be perfect. We set impossibly high standards for ourselves and are afraid to take action unless we're absolutely sure that we'll succeed. This fear of imperfection can keep us stuck in a cycle of procrastination. We keep putting off taking action because we're afraid of making mistakes. The truth is, perfection is an illusion. There is no such thing as a perfect outcome. What we perceive as failure is often just a part of the process, a necessary step on the path to success. Once we let go of the need for perfection, we can begin to take action without the fear of making mistakes. The first step in overcoming the fear of failure is to shift your mindset. Instead of focusing on the potential for failure, focus on the possibility of success. Think about what you stand to gain by taking action. When you shift your focus from the negative to the positive, it becomes easier to take that first step. You begin to see failure as a temporary setback, not a permanent condition. Instead of asking yourself, "What if I fail?" start asking, "What if I succeed?" This shift in perspective helps you move forward with confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, you can learn from the experience and grow. Another important step is to break down your goals into smaller, more manageable tasks. Often, the fear of failure is overwhelming because the goal seems too big, too daunting, or too impossible. When you break the goal down into smaller, achievable steps, it becomes less intimidating. Each small step you take builds your confidence and reduces the fear. Instead of looking at the end result, focus on the next step. This way, you can take action without feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. You'll find that each small success along the way gives you the motivation to keep going. It's also important to remember that failure doesn't mean you're not capable. It just means that you've encountered a challenge, and now it's time to figure out how to overcome it. Failure is an opportunity to try again, armed with more knowledge and experience. Think of it as a learning experience, not a roadblock. The more you face challenges head-on, the less daunting they become. Over time, you'll realize that failure is not something to fear, but something to embrace as part of your personal growth. Another key to overcoming the fear of failure is to practice self-compassion. We can be our own worst critics, often holding ourselves to impossible standards. When we make mistakes or face setbacks, we beat ourselves up and let our inner critic take over. This only feeds the fear and makes it harder to move forward. Practicing self-compassion means being kind to yourself when things don't go as planned. It means treating yourself with the same understanding and kindness that you would offer a friend who is going through a tough time. When you show yourself compassion, you create a supportive inner environment that allows you to take risks without fear of judgment. Support from others can also help alleviate the fear of failure. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage and support you can make a huge difference. When you have a strong support system, you feel less alone in your struggles. You have people to turn to when things don't go as planned, and they can remind you of your strengths and capabilities. Don't be afraid to reach out to others when you need help or encouragement. Sometimes, just hearing someone else say, "You've got this," can make all the difference. When you stop fearing failure, you begin to realize that it's not the end of the world. It's not something to be ashamed of, but something to be expected. Failure is not a reflection of your worth or abilities. It's just a part of the journey. Every successful person has faced failure, but they didn't let it stop them. They learned from it, grew stronger, and continued moving forward. When you take away the fear of failure, you unlock your potential to achieve great things. You stop holding yourself back and start taking bold steps toward your dreams. Failure will still happen, but it will no longer have the power to stop you. It will become just another stepping stone on the path to success. Chapter 11. Breaking free from perfectionism. Perfectionism can be one of the most limiting forces in our lives. It can creep into every decision we make, every goal we set, and every task we take on. We strive to do everything perfectly, believing that anything less is a failure. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion, a standard that can never truly be reached. The more we try to achieve perfection, the more we set ourselves up for frustration, disappointment, and burnout. The pursuit of perfection often paralyzes us from taking action at all. It convinces us that if we can't do something perfectly, then it's not worth doing. But this is the trap we need to break free from. Perfectionism can manifest in many ways, often starting with small thoughts that spiral into bigger anxieties. We might worry about how others perceive us, how our work stacks up against others, or whether we are living up to some idealized version of ourselves. These thoughts lead to a constant cycle of self-criticism, comparison, and fear of judgment. Instead of celebrating progress, we focus on every little flaw and mistake, which only serves to heighten our stress and insecurity. The problem with this mindset is that it leaves us feeling stuck. We become paralyzed by the thought that nothing we do will ever be good enough. The fear of making a mistake can stop us from even starting. What many people don't realize is that perfectionism often stems from a deep-rooted fear of failure. We convince ourselves that if we can just get everything right, we'll be safe from judgment and disappointment. But in trying to control every outcome, we lose sight of what really matters: progress, growth, and learning. No one ever gets everything perfect, and that's okay. The world doesn't expect perfection from us, and neither should we expect it from ourselves. Perfectionism creates a false sense of security, one that ultimately keeps us from taking risks and stepping out of our comfort zones. The first step in breaking free from perfectionism is recognizing it for what it is. It's not a desire to improve or do things well. It's a fear of not measuring up. It's important to understand that perfection is not a requirement for success. In fact, many of the world's greatest achievements have come from people who embraced imperfection, took risks, and learned from their mistakes. The key is not to avoid failure, but to embrace it as part of the process. Failure is not an end, it's a lesson. When we stop expecting perfection, we create space for growth, learning, and experimentation. One of the ways to begin letting go of perfectionism is to redefine what success means. Success is not about doing everything flawlessly or meeting impossible standards. It's about taking action, making progress, and improving along the way. Instead of focusing on achieving perfection, focus on creating momentum. Start small and take one step at a time. Celebrate every achievement, no matter how small, and use it as motivation to keep going. By shifting our focus from perfection to progress, we free ourselves from the unrealistic expectations that hold us back. Another powerful way to overcome perfectionism is to practice self-compassion. Perfectionism often comes hand in hand with self-criticism. We are often our own harshest critics, beating ourselves up over every mistake and imperfection. But self-compassion involves treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer to a friend. When we make a mistake, instead of berating ourselves, we can acknowledge that we are human and that it's okay to not get everything right. We can remind ourselves that making mistakes is how we learn and grow. When we embrace self-compassion, we free ourselves from the grip of perfectionism and allow ourselves to move forward with confidence. One of the most liberating things we can do is to let go of the need for approval from others. Perfectionism is often fueled by the desire to meet external expectations, whether it's from family, friends, colleagues, or society at large. We may feel that we need to prove ourselves or gain the approval of others in order to feel worthy or successful. But the truth is, we don't need anyone else's approval to be enough. We are enough as we are, flaws and all. When we stop seeking validation from others, we can begin to make choices based on our own values and desires, not on the fear of judgment or rejection. This shift in mindset is empowering and liberating, allowing us to pursue what truly matters to us without being held back by perfectionist tendencies. It's also important to acknowledge that perfectionism often leads to burnout. When we push ourselves too hard in the pursuit of perfection, we risk exhausting ourselves both mentally and physically. The constant pressure to be perfect can lead to stress, anxiety, and even depression. It's essential to find balance and prioritize self-care. Taking breaks, getting enough sleep, and engaging in activities that bring us joy and relaxation are all important aspects of maintaining our well-being. When we practice self-care and recognize the value of rest, we give ourselves the energy and perspective needed to continue moving forward without the burden of perfectionism weighing us down. Learning to let go of perfectionism is not an overnight process. It's something that takes time, patience, and consistent effort. It requires shifting deeply ingrained beliefs and habits and challenging the narratives we've created about success and failure. But the rewards of letting go of perfection are immense. We become more confident, more resilient, and more willing to take risks. We learn to appreciate the process of growth and become less focused on the outcome. We stop letting fear dictate our actions, and instead, we start taking bold steps toward the life we truly want to live. Ultimately, perfectionism is an obstacle to our personal growth and happiness. It keeps us stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and fear. But when we let go of the need to be perfect, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and experiences. We allow ourselves the freedom to make mistakes, to try new things, and to embrace the journey. When we stop striving for perfection, we can finally start living with purpose and passion, knowing that our worth is not determined by how flawless we are, but by the effort we put in and the growth we experience along the way. Chapter 12. Building Mental Resilience. Life doesn't come with a set of instructions or guarantees, which is why building mental resilience is so crucial. When we're faced with challenges, setbacks, or even failures, our ability to stay strong and keep moving forward often makes all the difference. It's not about avoiding hardship, it's about how we respond to it. Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you develop through experience, perspective, and consistent practice. It's not always easy, but it is absolutely possible to build, and the benefits are profound. The good news is that anyone can become more resilient. It starts with understanding what resilience truly is. Mental resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity. It's about facing life's difficulties without giving up or letting those challenges define you. When things don't go as planned, resilient people don't quit. Instead, they look for ways to adapt and learn from their experiences. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when life presents obstacles, but those who develop resilience can stand firm in the face of stress and continue pushing forward, even when it feels impossible. In essence, resilience is not the absence of challenges, but the ability to persevere through them. There's a common misconception that resilience means being tough or unemotional, but that's not the case. Resilience involves feeling your emotions, acknowledging your struggles, and still choosing to move forward. It's not about ignoring pain or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's about accepting that setbacks are part of the process and having the mental strength to keep going. This process doesn't mean that you won't feel sad, frustrated, or scared at times. It means that despite those feelings, you are able to keep taking steps in the right direction. Building mental resilience begins with changing how we view challenges. When things go wrong, it's natural to feel discouraged, but resilience allows us to reframe those situations. Instead of seeing a setback as a failure, resilient people view it as an opportunity to learn and grow. It's all about shifting your mindset. If you look at every challenge as a lesson in disguise, you start to change the way you approach problems. The road may be bumpy, but resilience helps you stay on course. One of the keys to building mental resilience is learning to manage your thoughts. Overthinking and negativity can quickly take hold when faced with adversity. The mind has a tendency to spiral, feeding on fears and doubts, but resilience comes from challenging those thoughts. When negative thoughts arise, it's important to take a step back and ask yourself if they are true or helpful. By questioning these thoughts, you can prevent them from taking over and stop them from dragging you down. Self-compassion also plays a huge role in developing resilience. When we face setbacks, it's easy to be hard on ourselves, but harsh self-criticism only weakens our ability to bounce back. The key is to treat yourself with kindness, as you would treat a friend who's struggling. Allow yourself to be imperfect. Don't hold yourself to unrealistic standards. Remember that you are human, and mistakes are part of the journey. Giving yourself the space to fail without judgment is an essential step in building resilience. It allows you to recover faster and approach the next challenge with greater strength. Another important aspect of mental resilience is the ability to stay focused on the present moment. When we encounter difficulties, our minds often wander to what might go wrong or to the fear of what the future holds. This can easily drain our energy and prevent us from taking action. Resilience comes from staying grounded in the now, dealing with today's problems without getting overwhelmed by tomorrow's uncertainties. Mindfulness is an excellent tool for developing this focus. It helps you stay aware of what's happening around you and keep your attention on what's most important. Having a strong sense of purpose also plays a significant role in resilience. When you know why you're doing something, it gives you the strength to keep going, even when things get tough. People who are resilient often have a deep connection to their goals or values. They understand why they are pursuing their dreams and know that the struggles they face are just temporary obstacles. This sense of purpose helps them stay motivated and focused, even when the going gets tough. When you feel deeply connected to your why, resilience becomes much easier to maintain. Building resilience also requires flexibility. Life doesn't always go as planned, and being able to adjust and adapt is crucial to mental strength. When faced with challenges, it's essential to be open to different solutions. If your original plan doesn't work, don't give up entirely. Instead, look for alternative paths to your goal. Flexibility allows you to navigate obstacles with more ease and less frustration. Support from others is another key factor in developing resilience. We all need help sometimes, whether it's from friends, family, or colleagues. Having a strong support system makes it easier to cope with difficulties. When you have people around you who believe in you and encourage you, it gives you the strength to keep going. Don't be afraid to lean on others when you need to. Resilience doesn't mean going it alone. It means knowing when to reach out and ask for help. It's essential to understand that resilience doesn't mean that you won't face hardships. It's not about being immune to stress, loss, or disappointment. Life is unpredictable, and no one can avoid challenges altogether. But resilience helps you recover quicker, handle adversity better, and learn valuable lessons along the way. The more you practice resilience, the stronger you become in the face of life's storms. Building mental resilience is about embracing life's difficulties rather than avoiding them. It's about learning how to move forward despite fear, uncertainty, and setbacks. It's about building a mindset that allows you to grow through challenges rather than be defeated by them. The more resilient you become, the more empowered you'll feel to face whatever comes your way. Resilience doesn't mean never falling. It means getting back up every time you do. It's about developing the strength to keep going, even when the road ahead seems tough. As you build resilience, you will discover that no challenge is too big to overcome. The strength to face life's obstacles is already inside you. It's just waiting to be unlocked. Chapter 13. Creating a life of clarity and focus. Every day, you are given an opportunity to start fresh. Life is filled with distractions, expectations, and pressures that can easily pull your focus in every direction. The constant noise and busyness of modern life can make it hard to find clarity. But there's a powerful truth. When you have clarity and focus, you can approach each day with purpose and confidence. The key to making progress in your personal growth journey and achieving long-term success is creating a life where clarity and focus are prioritized. Clarity isn't just about knowing where you're going or what you want to achieve. It's about understanding what truly matters to you. It's about peeling back the layers of distraction and getting to the core of what is meaningful. Without clarity, we often waste time and energy chasing things that don't align with our values or goals. We scatter our attention across too many things, which leaves us feeling overwhelmed and unfulfilled. On the other hand, when you know what truly matters to you, and you can keep that in focus, your energy is channeled in a way that moves you closer to your goals. Focus is the ability to concentrate your energy and attention on what's important. In today's world, focus can be a rare commodity. The constant ping of notifications, the pressure to multitask, and the overwhelm of too many options can all cause us to lose sight of what we're really working toward. The reality is, when we try to do everything at once, we end up achieving less. Our energy is spread too thin. But when we concentrate our efforts on the things that matter most, we accomplish more and feel more fulfilled. One of the most effective ways to create clarity in your life is to make time for reflection. It's hard to know where you're going if you don't take a moment to check in with yourself. Reflecting on your values, goals, and the direction you want to take helps you gain perspective. You can ask yourself questions like, what do I really want? What's important to me? What brings me joy and fulfillment? When you take the time to honestly answer these questions, you'll gain clarity about what truly matters to you. Another way to build clarity is to simplify your life. Too much clutter, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional, can prevent you from seeing clearly. Simplifying your environment and your commitments frees up space in your mind to focus on what's important. Decluttering isn't just about throwing things away. It's about letting go of distractions that don't serve your goals. Whether it's removing items from your home that you no longer need or saying no to obligations that don't align with your priorities, simplifying helps create the mental and physical space needed for focus. The power of focus lies in your ability to block out distractions. In a world where distractions are everywhere, learning to protect your focus is a game changer. One way to do this is by setting clear, intentional goals. When you know exactly what you're working toward, it's easier to stay focused on the task at hand. Rather than letting your attention wander from one thing to another, you can concentrate on one objective at a time. Focus is also about discipline. It's about making the decision to ignore distractions and stay present in the moment, whether it's in a meeting, during work, or while spending time with family and friends. The more you practice focus, the easier it becomes to keep your attention where it matters most. Another key to focus is learning how to manage your energy. Often we think that focus is about sheer willpower or mental strength, but it's also about being mindful of how we spend our energy. When you're running on empty or overwhelmed, it's harder to focus. On the other hand, when you're well rested, nourished, and mentally refreshed, you're better equipped to focus. Creating space for rest and self-care is essential for maintaining high levels of focus and clarity. Without it, you'll burn out and find it much harder to stay on track. Building clarity and focus is also about learning to say no to things that aren't serving your greater purpose. In our society, there's a constant pressure to say yes to every request, to take on more, to be available at all times. But constantly saying yes leads to a life filled with distractions and obligations that don't align with what matters to you. To protect your time and energy, you have to learn to set boundaries. Saying no isn't selfish, it's necessary for creating the space you need to focus on your goals. When you say no to things that don't serve you, you make room for the things that truly matter. One powerful way to enhance your focus is by eliminating multitasking. It's easy to feel like we're being productive when we're juggling multiple tasks at once. But the truth is, multitasking often leads to poor results. Focusing on one task at a time allows you to do it with greater attention and care, leading to better outcomes. Whether it's answering emails, working on a project, or having a conversation, being fully present in the moment enhances your ability to perform at your best. In addition to simplifying your environment and setting clear goals, practicing mindfulness is another effective way to improve focus. Mindfulness is about being fully present in the moment and observing your thoughts without judgment. When you practice mindfulness, you become more aware of when your mind starts to wander or when distractions are pulling you away from your priorities. This awareness allows you to gently refocus and bring your attention back to what matters. A key part of creating clarity and focus is developing the habit of prioritizing. Not everything in life is of equal importance. When you have a clear sense of what's most important, it's easier to allocate your time and energy accordingly. Learning to prioritize means saying yes to the things that align with your values and goals, and saying no to those that don't. It's about having the discipline to stay focused on your top priorities and not getting sidetracked by tasks or commitments that don't move you forward. The ability to create clarity and focus also requires patience. It's easy to get frustrated when things aren't happening as quickly as you'd like, but remember that building focus and clarity takes time. It's not something that happens overnight, but with consistent effort, you will see results. Trust the process and allow yourself to grow gradually. Building focus and clarity is like developing a muscle. You have to exercise it regularly to see improvement. As you continue to build a life of clarity and focus, you'll notice a shift in how you approach each day. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by distractions and uncertainties, you'll feel empowered to direct your energy toward what truly matters. When you simplify your life, set clear intentions, and protect your focus, you create the space needed to achieve your goals and live a more meaningful life. Focus gives you the ability to move through challenges with a sense of direction, and clarity allows you to make decisions that align with your true desires. Together, they create a powerful foundation for long-term success. Chapter 14. The Power of Mindfulness and Meditation. In today's fast-paced world, we're often swept up in the demands of life. Every day presents a new challenge or a task that needs to be completed. With all the distractions and responsibilities, it's easy to feel disconnected from ourselves and the present moment. This is where mindfulness and meditation come into play. When practiced consistently, these tools can bring us back to the here and now, grounding us in the present and giving us the clarity and calm we need to handle life's demands. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. It's about tuning into your thoughts, feelings and surroundings, with acceptance and without trying to change anything. Instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, mindfulness encourages us to focus on what's happening right now. This shift in perspective is powerful because it helps us stop overthinking. When we're mindful, we're less likely to get lost in thoughts about what could have been or what might happen in the future. We're simply present with what is. One of the most common barriers to practicing mindfulness is the constant stream of thoughts that run through our minds. It can feel like our brains are always buzzing with worries, to-do lists, and endless distractions. The key to mindfulness is learning to observe these thoughts without becoming consumed by them. Instead of trying to control or suppress our thoughts, mindfulness invites us to acknowledge them and let them pass. This can be difficult at first, but with regular practice, it becomes easier to detach from the constant chatter and return to the present moment. Meditation is a powerful tool that complements mindfulness. While mindfulness is the practice of being present in everyday life, meditation is a structured practice that helps cultivate awareness and presence. In its simplest form, meditation involves setting aside a few minutes to sit quietly and focus your attention. This could involve focusing on your breath, a mantra, or simply observing your thoughts as they come and go. Meditation helps quiet the mind, allowing us to tune out distractions and reconnect with ourselves. It's a practice that can lead to greater clarity, reduced stress, and a sense of inner peace. One of the biggest benefits of meditation is its ability to help us let go of the need for constant control. Many of us overthink situations because we want to control every outcome. We worry about the what-ifs and try to anticipate every possibility. Meditation teaches us that it's okay to let go of this need for control. When we meditate, we allow ourselves to be present with whatever arises, without judgment or attachment. This sense of surrender helps release the grip of overthinking and allows us to simply experience life as it comes. Mindfulness and meditation also help us manage stress and anxiety, two major contributors to overthinking. When we are stressed or anxious, our minds tend to race and we become overwhelmed by the demands of life. Practicing mindfulness and meditation helps break this cycle. When we focus on our breath or tune into our senses, we ground ourselves in the present and interrupt the constant flow of anxious thoughts. By regularly practicing these techniques, we train our minds to respond more calmly to stress, rather than getting caught up in a spiral of worry. Many people believe that meditation requires long hours of sitting still, but this isn't true. Even just a few minutes of meditation each day can have a positive impact. It's about consistency, not duration. If you're new to meditation, start small. Set aside 5 minutes a day to sit quietly, focus on your breath, and simply be present. Over time, you can gradually increase the length of your practice as it feels more natural. What's important is that you commit to showing up for yourself each day, even if it's just for a few moments. Mindfulness can also be incorporated into your daily life in simple ways. You don't need to set aside special time for mindfulness practice, though it can be helpful. You can practice mindfulness while doing everyday tasks, like washing dishes, walking, or drinking a cup of coffee. The key is to pay attention to the present moment without distraction. Notice the sensations of the task at hand, the feel of the water on your hands, the sound of your footsteps, the warmth of the coffee cup. By engaging all your senses, you bring your full attention to the present moment. When we practice mindfulness, we also become more aware of our emotions. Instead of pushing our feelings away or trying to ignore them, mindfulness encourages us to observe them without judgment. We can notice when we're feeling anxious, frustrated, or sad, and instead of reacting immediately, we can simply acknowledge these emotions. This awareness gives us the space to respond to our feelings in a healthier way, rather than being swept away by them. Over time, this can help reduce emotional reactivity and increase emotional resilience. Another powerful benefit of mindfulness and meditation is the improvement of our overall well-being. Studies have shown that regular meditation can reduce stress, improve sleep, increase focus, and boost overall mood. By giving ourselves the gift of mindfulness, we are better able to handle life's challenges, and we cultivate a deeper sense of contentment and joy. It's not about eliminating all of life's difficulties, but about learning to face them with a calm and clear mind. As you begin to incorporate mindfulness and meditation into your life, remember that it's a process. It's normal to experience challenges along the way, whether it's difficulty focusing during meditation or feeling like you're not doing it right. The key is to be patient with yourself. These practices are meant to be a tool for self-awareness, not a perfect goal. There is no right or wrong way to practice mindfulness or meditation. What matters is that you commit to showing up for yourself, even on the days when it feels hard. Incorporating mindfulness and meditation into your life is one of the most effective ways to stop overthinking and regain a sense of control over your thoughts and emotions. These practices give you the tools to manage stress, quiet the mind, and live in the present. By practicing regularly, you'll find yourself less consumed by worry and more able to focus on what truly matters. Mindfulness and meditation aren't just about finding peace during your practice. They are ways to bring that peace into your everyday life. When you learn to be present, you'll find that over time, the constant chatter of overthinking becomes quieter and more manageable, leaving you with the clarity and focus you need to live a fulfilling life. Chapter 15. The Role of Gratitude and Perspective. Gratitude is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools we have for improving our mental and emotional well-being. In the chaos of our daily lives, it's easy to forget just how much we have to be thankful for. We get so caught up in what's wrong, what we don't have, and what needs fixing that we overlook the blessings, big and small, that are already present in our lives. Shifting our focus from what's missing to what's already here can be a game changer. It has the ability to stop overthinking in its tracks, refocusing our minds on what truly matters. At its core, gratitude is about appreciating the good in our lives. It's about taking a moment to reflect on the positive things we often take for granted. The warmth of a cup of coffee in the morning, the smile of a friend, the comfort of a home, the beauty of nature. These simple things can have a profound impact on our mindset. When we choose to focus on these aspects of our lives, we start to see the world through a more optimistic lens. One of the reasons gratitude is so effective in combating overthinking is that it brings us back to the present. When we take a moment to express thanks for what we have, we stop worrying about the future or ruminating on the past. Gratitude anchors us in the now, allowing us to fully experience the moment without distraction. It's hard to overthink when you're focused on appreciating what's in front of you. This shift in attention can be a powerful antidote to the endless cycle of worry and stress. Research has shown that practicing gratitude can lead to numerous mental health benefits. People who regularly express gratitude experience less stress, anxiety, and depression. They tend to have better sleep, improved relationships, and a more positive outlook on life. This makes sense because gratitude helps us focus on the positive aspects of life rather than dwelling on the negative. When we're thankful for what we have, we feel more fulfilled and less likely to get stuck in cycles of negative thinking. Gratitude doesn't have to be reserved for the big moments in life. It's easy to be thankful when something major happens, like a promotion at work or a milestone in your personal life. However, the true power of gratitude lies in its ability to make us appreciate the everyday moments. We don't need to wait for something extraordinary to happen to feel grateful. In fact, some of the most meaningful moments of gratitude come from the most ordinary experiences. For example, you might feel grateful for the ability to enjoy a quiet evening at home or for a good conversation with a loved one. These small, everyday moments can have a profound impact on your mindset and well-being. They remind us that happiness doesn't have to come from external achievements or possessions. It can be found in the simple moments of connection, peace, and contentment that we often overlook. One of the most effective ways to incorporate gratitude into your life is by keeping a gratitude journal. Taking just a few minutes each day to write down 3 things you're thankful for can have a powerful effect on your mindset. They don't have to be big things, just small moments that brought you joy or made you feel good. Over time, you'll begin to notice a shift in your thinking. Instead of focusing on what's missing or what's wrong, you'll start to recognize the abundance in your life. This simple practice can help you break free from the cycle of overthinking and develop a more positive, balanced outlook. It's important to note that gratitude isn't about ignoring the challenges or difficulties in our lives. It's not about pretending that everything is perfect or that we don't have struggles. Life will always present us with obstacles, and it's natural to feel frustration, sadness, or anger at times. However, practicing gratitude doesn't mean we deny these feelings. Instead, it's about choosing to focus on what's good alongside the challenges. By acknowledging both the positive and negative, we cultivate a sense of balance and perspective. This shift in focus can make the difficult moments more manageable as we learn to appreciate the strength we gain from overcoming adversity. Another powerful aspect of gratitude is that it can improve our relationships with others. When we take the time to acknowledge the people in our lives and express our appreciation for them, it strengthens our connections and fosters a deeper sense of community. Whether it's thanking a friend for their support, appreciating a colleague's hard work, or simply acknowledging the kindness of a stranger, expressing gratitude helps us build stronger, more positive relationships. These meaningful connections, in turn, create a support system that can help us navigate life's challenges and reduce feelings of isolation. Gratitude also plays a crucial role in shifting our internal dialogue. Many of us have a constant stream of negative thoughts running through our minds. We criticize ourselves, focus on our flaws, and worry about our shortcomings. Practicing gratitude helps to counteract this negativity by training our minds to focus on what's good about ourselves and our lives. When we make gratitude a regular practice, we start to view ourselves and our experiences in a more positive light. We become more aware of our strengths, our progress, and the things we have to be thankful for, rather than dwelling on what's wrong or what's missing. Incorporating gratitude into your life is a simple yet transformative practice. It doesn't require special tools, expensive resources, or a lot of time. It's about making a conscious decision to shift your focus from what you don't have to what you do. Whether it's through a gratitude journal, expressing thanks to others, or simply taking a moment each day to appreciate the small joys of life, gratitude has the power to stop overthinking and bring peace to the mind. When you make gratitude a habit, it becomes a natural part of your daily routine. It helps to break the cycle of overthinking by encouraging you to focus on the present moment and the abundance in your life. Over time, this practice will shift your mindset, allowing you to see the world through a more positive lens. You'll begin to notice the beauty in the ordinary, and you'll find that your worries and anxieties have less power over you. Gratitude doesn't just change the way you think, it changes the way you live.